Yeah, obviously a disappointing loss last week at home versus a rival. 3 games in a row, we've lost one-score games. We're working diligently to figure out ways not to hurt ourselves, to give ourselves better chance to win these games. Starts with the head coach, myself, and examining everything we're doing and making sure that we're doing everything we need to do to put our players in great positions to be successful. And we have an unbelievable task this week of getting to play a JMU team that's ranked in the top 25, that's extremely talented, well coached, and we're really excited to get started on the prep today for them.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Adam Miller.
Coach Loggains, obviously you guys were, put into a position where you had to play from behind against Georgia Southern Thursday night. But what were some of the things you really felt like started to come together for you guys in the second half, and are things that you're going to be able to build on, especially going into this matchup this weekend?
Yeah, Adam, it's a really good question. In coaching, you're always looking for first, why did it happen? Like, why did we start slow? Is there something we need to do differently in practice? Is a preparation thing? Like what does that look like for us? So you do a deep dive on that and after action report on that. But what I love is 2 weeks in a row, our guys believe and they fight and it's a different team than it was 8 weeks ago. They believe in each other and they didn't let each other down. They respond the right way when life's hard. And when the game wasn't going the way we wanted to, like it talks a lot about the culture we're building, that the kids believe that much in the coaches, each other, and the coaches believe in the coaches as well. So I'm really excited about the way our guys fight and got clawed and fought back into the game. Obviously, we adjusted a lot of things at halftime to help those guys as coaches, but just too little, too late for us. We got to make sure that we start faster, and we're working really hard this week because 2 weeks in a row we haven't started the way we wanted to. 3 weeks against Coastal, we go down, we score 4 out of our 5 first series of the game, and then the last 2 weeks we just haven't played as fast out of the gate as we need to. So we're looking at everything, fixing that, but really, really, really proud of the character of this football team.
And then to follow up on that, just in terms of that, second half push, what can you say about the defense? You guys really seemed like started to get after the quarterback a bit. 5 quarterback hits, 6 sacks, and tackles for loss in the game. Just overall the defensive effort to really start picking things up for you guys and get things going.
Yeah, philosophically, we changed at half as well. We went into the game, we were worried about their team speed and wanted to, keep everything in front of us. And in the second half, we decided, hey, look, like we're down, cut it loose. Let's go get after this quarterback. Let's bring more pressure. Let's get in their face and challenge them a little bit more on defense. And our guys responded the right way. And when we gave those guys the opportunity, they did harass the quarterback. They did affect the quarterback. They did hit the quarterback. At the end of the game, we're sitting there starting, I think it was 19-3 at half. And we're in a one-score game competing for a stop to give our offense another chance to go down and kick a field goal and win the game. But so I think that the guys responded the right way. I think our coaches made good adjustments at halftime. We just got to be better as coaches early in the game and make sure that we're always attacking it from a defensive standpoint as well as offense.
And coach, my last question for you, it goes to, the element of the game against Georgia Southern that I thought was really interesting. Obviously, a rivalry game, East Division game, but the physicality of the game and just how you guys were able to match that, especially again in the second half. But how important that's going to be this week when you play against a team like James Madison that likes to get really physical as well.
Yeah, Adam, you just talked about JMU, and we got to play Boise early in the season. I think that this is the most complete roster we've played in JMU, so it's going to be really important. And in coaching, you never want to use the phrase "match their intensity" because that's what we did against Georgia Southern. We matched their intensity. Like, you want to start fast, and you don't want everyone to match. You want to make someone else match your intensity, and that's what we're working for. We're working for it in everything we do, every day, every rep, every minute that we spend. Like, we're trying to find ways to be better that way. So we're going to be. It's a great challenge for us. We're really excited about the opportunity to play these guys. They've been winning for a long time. Obviously, Coach Chesney's done a great job following Coach Ignetti, and they've built it the right way. They're talented, they're physical, they can run, they've got good size, and a lot of homegrown kids as well. So it'll be an awesome opportunity for us.
Thank you, Coach Loggains. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, great victory. Our team started fast. We didn't finish as well as I would have liked, but give credit to Georgia State, kept battling, and but at the end of the day, we came out with the victory, so that's all that matters.
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach Beck, you got this team really, playing cohesively with a lot of chemistry in all three phases of the game right now. 4 wins in a row, 5 in your last 6. Just what can you say about the confidence of your team right now and the way that everything is sort of remaining cohesive at this point in the season?
Yeah, our guys right now are playing with a lot of confidence. Every game, we seem a little more confident. It's interesting. Practice today, I noticed I described our team as hungry. It was interesting because a lot of times you can get satisfied and feel full at your accomplishments. And we talked a lot this morning in our meeting about we really haven't done anything yet. It's a great streak that we're on. Doesn't mean anything if we don't finish. So our guys seemed very hungry. So I like where we're at. I like our mindset. Healthy for the most part, going into a tough game against Georgia Southern.
And that was going to be my follow-up question. Obviously with the way you guys are playing, you're going to now back-to-back road games with the first one that's in front of you is this Georgia Southern team. What are some things you guys really need to continue to do well, but maybe even some areas you're going to need to improve in this matchup specifically if you're going to want to be able to keep things going the way they're going?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Southern has had a rash of injuries, and Coach Helton got a tremendous amount of respect for him and his program and what they do, and they play really well at home. The crowd will be behind them. It's a great venue and a great atmosphere. So we're going to have to take care of the football. I think that's one of the things we've been doing really, really well. We've been winning the turnover battle. We weren't as good in the red zone as I would have liked. It's one of the areas that we need to. This past game, I should say, too many field goals. We got to score touchdowns against teams. At the end, that stuff will come back and hurt you. And so we'll put an emphasis on that. We got to do a good job keeping the ball in front. Don't give up big plays defensively. Make teams have to earn it. It's hard to do that consistently through the course of the game. And Samari's got to keep taking care of the football. He's made really good decisions for us so far.
Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, Coach. I didn't notice. I know Shane Bruce returned, but left in the first quarter. Did he return to the game, and what would his status be for this upcoming week?
He did not return. He's seeing the doctor this afternoon to get a little bit more of a. It was kind of a nag. It's a nagging injury that resurfaced. We just want to make sure nothing got worse. That it's just the nagging injury.
Okay, and I mean, yeah, you must be happy with the replacements and to be missing your senior captain and who was considered possibly the best player on defense and have the defense playing as well as they are.
Yeah, 6th-year player, captain, played in a lot of ball games. Always hard to replace Shane, and I'm really proud of Trey Brown and Luke Murphy's played well. Savon McDowell's played in there. We've used a lot of different guys at that linebacker spot. We've had Gia Jorm in there. We've Malake and Walt Gray. I mean, we've kind of ran through the gamut at that linebacker position with Wyatt Gideon and Shane Bruce both going down. 2 guys that have played a ton of snaps for us that we've been playing all year without for the most part. So really proud of that group. Coach Carter and has done a great job with the linebackers. JJ, developing a scheme, and our guys just rally. It's one thing we talked about, Alan, at the end of the game. It just always seems to be somebody else. It's every game. It's it's a Jamarion Wayne, then it's Ebe, then it's Dante Luna, and then it's what I mean. It's just somebody. It's Noah Arinze, it's Zeke Campbell. Like somebody's making plays for us defensively every game, and so that's a great team defense when you have a bunch of players being able to step up and do that.
And last one for me, I think I know you want balance on offense, but when you're running the ball for 324 yards in a game, is it more difficult to play pass calls? When you're getting that much success on the ground.
It is. It certainly is. And, I think sometimes some of those are pass calls, right? Or they're RPOs and they give us the run, right? Or it's we go back to throw the ball and Samari takes off, and so I think the play calling is pretty balanced, pretty close, might be, 60-40, but in the run category, but we have been calling some of the pass plays or the RPOs and RPOs are very equivalent to a quick pass. So it's just we've done a good job taking what they give us. That's why I made that comment about Samari's done a really good job not forcing things and doing what we need him to do and execute, which is keeping us on the field.
Okay.
Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Coach, and be remiss if I didn't ask just one more question. Obviously it's one of many goals you guys set out for yourselves this year, but you guys are now bowl eligible, and just talk about what that means for your team and knowing that you guys are going to have an opportunity to play some postseason football.
Yeah, Adam, you'd be really shocked. It wasn't one of our goals. We didn't even talk about it. I'll be honest. We talk about winning the championship. We talk about being our best version of us. And we talk in just winning the day. I mean, really, I think in today's football, you could put too much emphasis on those types of things you can't control. And right now, the only thing we can control is us. It doesn't matter who we play, where we play, what time we play, what the conditions are going to be like, what uniforms we wear or don't wear, who shows up, who doesn't, who gets injured, who doesn't. All we can control is, are we doing our absolute best? And 6 weeks ago, we made that commitment. We made that commitment as a coaching staff. We made that commitment as players. That's it. That's all we're going to focus on. Nothing else. I don't want to talk about anything else. We didn't even talk about it. I'll be honest. We didn't. And it's there. We know it's there. There's always negative noise and there's always positive noise. And the idea is to tune it all out, because none of it matters at the end of the day. It's how we're getting better and how we're going to execute and play this week against Georgia Southern.
Thank you, Coach Beck. Appreciate your time today.
Got it.
Is excited to get back onto the field. Had a much needed bye week that our players, really coaches were able to get out recruiting, and really our players were able, to catch a break, because that was 7 straight. I think 5 of the last 7 on the road. So it was good timing for a break, but we're excited to be back. Game week, got a really big game, obviously Saturday at home, versus South Alabama, a team that's a good football team and coached really well. So just excited to be back at it this week and working towards this game Saturday.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Vincent, you just talked about the bye week and some of the rewards that come with that. Obviously now you're going to hit the home stretch here in November, but you guys we look at the conference standings. You may not, but the schedule you guys have played, especially the last month, has been really difficult the way some of these teams are performing. But how do you keep your team, and how have you kept your team? And was there any effort during the bye week with the team just to sort of work on some things to keep the team's confidence and motivations forward as you guys enter this final month of the season and to finish strong?
Well, we know really, what we've got left. It was a good time really for us to just really, sometimes when you get rest, it's an opportunity to refocus. It's an opportunity to really, take a step back and build that strength up. Rest is to finish strong. And we had that 7-game stretch, and 5 of them on the road. And I've been really proud of our players, man. We've played tough. We've played physical. We've played hard. We've never let up in any games, and we've had some major swings and turnovers and whatever situation it's been. We've been resilient through it. And when we're rebuilding this program, you've got to be able to embrace those tough times, and we'd have some tough times. And obviously, you lose, what is it, 5 in a row, 4 in a row, bang, 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 and some really close games up till half. And then we've just really hit ourselves and hurt ourselves with turnovers, in that third quarter area. And it's really had opportunities that have really swung games, even, from the Southern Miss game to the Coastal game, to the Troy game right there when it's 17-14. So, but at the end of the day, what has happened, and we own what's happened. And our kids, our attitude, we've been great. The culture's been great. Our kids are focused. There hasn't been any change. But I think when you communicate that and understand, part of this mission, part of this turning around this program, you've got to be willing to grind through these tough times. You've got to be willing to embrace them and continue to be the same man and the same unit and the same team every day. And that's what we've done. And you know what? I've seen tremendous progress. We've just got to be able to play clean football. And that's something that we really haven't done, for an entire football game.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, and Coach, just to follow up with a lot of what you just said, you still have a lot in front of you. Three division games left. It starts with this one this week, obviously with South Alabama. You're at home, final home game of the season. What are the things that you guys feel like you have a real opportunity to do this week against a team like South Alabama that it isn't having the season that they wanted, but you guys have an opportunity again with a lot still in front of you to play well in your final home game this season?
We feel like we've got a 3-game season, and it's all about, obviously one day at a time, 1 week at a time. And it's about South Alabama. And it's really, we play South, but it's always been about us. And I think our kids they understand that too, is us just owning each day and just getting better and fixing the things that have been failures, throughout these games this season. And we've done a good job of that. We've just got to really do a little bit better. It's the turnovers really, and untimely penalties that have really set us back. So the biggest thing is just how we continue to build and just get better and get better and just focus on the moment, focus on the day. We've got a team that cares about each other. We've got right at 31 seniors, that have really fought to go through to get to this stage 2 of this program. And we've got 3 big games left, and every game is an opportunity. Look, the Sun Belt, I think everybody knows anything can happen. It's who plays the best 60 minutes, no matter home, away, from top to bottom. Just the coaching, the teams in this league, we see week in, week out. It's who comes to play and who plays clean, or I should say the cleanest, who wins the turnover battle, who has better and in those critical 3rd down and 4th down situation and red zone situations in the kicking game. So to me, it's you got to be prepared week in, week out and play at a high level to win in this conference, really college football alone.
Thank you, Coach Vincent. Appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Yes, a very hard-fought battle at Marshall. Thought, again, that game had a lot of emotion and carried a lot of emotion, not only for that team, but for that community. And we certainly respect that and honor that throughout our preparation and then throughout the game. And I thought that was again, a hard fought game. They played extremely, it was physical every which way you looked at it, and, very challenging. And I like the way our guys came together at the very end. When they needed to get a stop, they did. And when we needed to convert, we did. And I thought there were a lot of good things throughout the game and a ton of things that we just got to keep getting better at, which is the name of the game. Every single week, keep taking steps forward and keep finding your way, to become the best that you possibly can be individually, as a position group, as a unit, and then as an entire team. So I like the steps our team is making. Obviously, there was a lot in there, 20 days, 1 game in 20-day span. Going down there, the bus ride's not that normal. It's very normal for me in my past, but it's not that normal for these guys. So 4.5 hours on the bus on the way over. And then, we stayed an hour away, and that was all part of it. Things they had to overcome. There was enough excuses they could have grabbed and used if they wanted to. And I was proud that they didn't at all. So back to work and a very tough team that's had our number over the past bunch of years coming in here, this weekend. So, we got to get ready for that.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with David Teal.
Bob, it had been a minute since you guys had been dragged deep into the 4th quarter of a very tense game. What did you learn about your team, specifically with the 4th down stop and then the ability to get an insurance touchdown on top of that?
Yeah, that was a great way to word it. That's for sure. Dragged into the 4th quarter. It's very true though. There were, high pressure moments in there, and we had to be able to make plays and overcome some things. And I love that our guys were able to do it. That was their quarterback, I thought running back, I thought they did a great job in their scheme overall, and they just made it just that. They were willing to go to great lengths to win that game and lay their bodies on the line, and our guys were as well. And I think that's what we have to understand is not every game is going to be exactly the same. We've won many different types of games, fortunate to do that throughout the course of this year. And this was the really the longest one we've played up to this point in time. And there was, as physical as they could have possibly been. Our resolve is strong is what I learned. Our moment, our ability to, make the plays in crucial moments. I've also, had a chance to witness there on the sideline, and their ability to not waver. There's not a moment where anybody looked defeated or, was tense or nervous. They were expecting to win that game. And I think that's what, I saw from them. And it's easy to do in other games when you're up and you hold the team scoreless in the second half, but this was not the case. So to overcome that, this is a game we definitely needed on many fronts as we continue to progress throughout the season.
Do you address the polls with your team?
Yeah, we did yesterday. We did. We talked about it and just said, hey, you're here, because of what you've done to get to this point. So if you want to stay here, you better keep doing what you did to get to this point. And that's really the truth of it. But I think that for the community, for the players, to not talk about it at all is, usually been my approach in the past. I just think that now social media, their parents, their friends, their family, the community, it's so prevalent. If we're not talking about it, they're definitely talking about it with somebody. I'd rather we talk about it within this program. But ultimately, what does it matter, right? What matters is how we come out here and handle this week. We had a great day yesterday, and we get to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They have to be elite. Our best football has to be played at this point moving forward, or you could forget about the polls. So I think it's one of those things that it's nice for everybody involved in it, but it doesn't change the work that needs to be done, and that's what we have to focus on.
And then another charming benefit, if you will, of success is talk about the head coach and his future and the carousel. How do you, if at all, talk to your team about that?
We don't really talk at all about that. They don't talk to me about their intentions right now of what they intend to do at the end of the season. For me, it's about, being where your feet are and making sure that you're doing the best that you possibly can be. This has always been a thing in my past, right? Everywhere I've been, it's, the first year you're there, you're leaving, the second year you're leaving, the third year you're leaving, the fourth, and it's just that it goes on and on and on. And I just think that, our job right now is to play as hard as we can for each other and give everything we got to each other. There's so much outside noise from so many different places, especially given how many openings and probably more openings that are coming. There's a lot in there, right? So there's a lot of, not only movement that will exist in a head coaching position, but it's assistant coaching position and the player position. It's one of those things that it's a pretty volatile environment at this moment. And I think that what can you control? Once again, what can we control? We could control, what is directly ahead of us. And I know our guys are doing a great job of that and staying focused on exactly what we need to be focused on.
Will you take a peek at the CFP show tomorrow night?
I didn't even know one existed. So no, it is not my intention to do so. I'm also off social media lately, which is great since my crypto selling days are over now, which is good, but I'm still off of it, which, to me, it's just focused on this team.
Congratulations for that.
Yes, thank you. Big feat.
Coach, as you turn the page toward App State this weekend, what do you do to slow down a team that seems to be playing their best football kind of later in games and make sure you kind of put them away if you do have the chance to get ahead early, as they've been able to kind of come back in the fourth the last two weeks and nearly pull some comebacks off?
Yeah, our talk is about what we need to do to stop this team. This is, I think, the leading rusher in the league. I think their quarterback is phenomenal. He just is calm and patient, and he throws the ball effortlessly to some unbelievable receivers downfield, big guys that can go up and make a ton of plays. And then you just watched it as number 15's out there doing his thing for 160 yards, targeted close to 20 times. There's enough weapons all over this field that, that's really, we got to focus on, ourselves, ultimately putting ourselves in the best position to be successful. But they're really hard to stop. And not only that, their defense is extremely aggressive. When you go back through their plays of, 1 yard gains or less of, 700 plays that we broke down, almost half of them are that. So their defensive ends, their linebackers, they play downhill. They are physical. They can cover. There's nothing that they're not good at. And then you flip the tape over to special teams and it's even better. So there's just a lot in here, that we got to make sure we're prepared for as we go into this week. And I know our guys will be.
Let's take one final question from Adam Miller.
Coach Chesney, it feels like when your offense is playing at its best, you're getting a lot out of the way your team blocks. Especially, Wayne Knight makes a lot of these highlight reel plays, and he's really, effective with the ball in his hands. But a lot of that, it seems like there's just a lot that's going on in terms of blocking. What do you feel, or what can you say about the emphasis of your coaching staff when it comes to blocking and when players don't have the ball in their hands?
Yeah, well, that's a big piece of it, right? Our mantra for the offense, our offensive players in particular, is to play longer and harder than the guy with the football in his hands. That's their job, is to play longer and harder than the guy with the football in his hands. And that is what they do on a continual basis. There's a lot of intricacies that happen within our run game, within what looks like a normal just play. There's a lot of different things that we're doing as far as the line and the scheme is concerned. And then the way the receivers block on the perimeter is also extremely important. And then off of that comes some RPO game that we've been successful with over the past couple of weeks. So, we just got to keep taking those steps forward, but ultimately it's the ability to, again, lay it all on the line for each other. And even if I don't have the ball, it takes all 11 to score a touchdown. It's not just the one guy with the ball in his hands that scored that touchdown. It takes everybody. And I think, just like it does a turnover, just like it does any good run, just like it does any touchdown, it takes everybody. And our guys understand that, and they're willing to play really, really hard, even without the ball in their hand. And they understand that. And that has to be the case. And they're doing a good job of it.
Thank you, Coach Chesney. Appreciate the time today.
All right. Thank you, guys. Go Deuce.
Yeah, very important week this week. It'll be our seniors' last time to play in Atlanta, so we want to make sure that we prepare, practice, put everything we can into this game plan as coaches and players to give them a lasting impression of their last game in Center Park Stadium.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Brady.
Yeah, Dell, was wondering if you could give an update on Cameron after he left on Saturday's game.
Yeah, he's still going through things. We don't know what's going to happen yet. So, once we find out more, availability report will be available on Wednesday, and we just see how the week progresses.
And with the team, another loss, and this would be a point of the season where frustration surely sets in the locker room and the coaching staff just because you want to win games. How do you manage all of that, especially with guys who haven't been playing who maybe feel like, well, if I was playing, maybe things would be going better, when you're not going to be able to give everyone the playing time that they want? How do you manage all of that at this point in the season?
Yeah, everything we do based on playing time is based on how our players practice, how they execute and perform in practice. So our players aren't mad or frustrated if they're not playing because they hadn't defined or earned a role. So I don't see frustration or players feeling that way because the tape doesn't lie, and how we practice gives everyone an opportunity to show what they can and can't do.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned that the last game for a lot of your players in Atlanta coming up this weekend, but it'll be against the Marshall team that another really physical team. But what do you guys need to do to be able to match that and be able to come out with and send your seniors home with a good win?
Yeah, same thing that we need to do every single week. Got to prepare the right way. Then we got to take our preparation and perform on Saturday. Got to hold on to the football. Got to stop the run. We got to run the football effectively. Got to convert third downs on offense to extend drives. We got to limit their explosive plays, and we got to create explosive plays. So the plan and the process doesn't change. You got to emphasize all those things during the week, which we do. We just got to perform better as coaches and players on game day. And the plan that we implement has to be clean, and our players got to be able to perform at a high level when game day was here. But our preparation won't necessarily change. Our urgency is going to be important because the next game, our kids have continued to fight and play hard and play with effort, and those things show up. It's just the details of not getting momentum or responding in the right manner, which we got to do. And still have a very young and inexperienced football team that's growing and learning how to do those things.
Thank you for your time, Coach McGee. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Just disappointed, really that we lost the game, then obviously disappointed in the aftermath of the game. And obviously that's, kind of behavior is unacceptable by both teams. And we got to learn from it and move on and let the conference, handle that. And if there's any more actions we need to take, we will as a program. But, I thought, our guys didn't quit in the fourth quarter. The second half, I thought we played some of the best football we've played all year in the second half, that we played inspired. The defense got some turnovers, defense got some stops. Offense was able to execute and be explosive and aggressive. And, it's just unfortunate that, we couldn't get the win. And, that's kind of been the story of our season. These one possession, 3 points, double overtime, 1 point game. So obviously that's on us as coaches to figure that out. So questions.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Caleb.
Yeah, Coach, after all the emotions calmed down, able to get back home. What was the message to the team in the locker room after the incident? How did you talk to your team about what happened with the fight?
Well, as soon as the game ended, we were in the locker room, and then another incident happened, and I think they handled that. So we didn't really get to talk after the game as a team, just because that got interrupted. But once we got home and yesterday, Sunday in the team meeting, just talked about how no matter what happens, this or that, you got to respond the right way. We had some guys respond the right way. We had some guys not respond the right way. And, it's a learning experience for some of the guys. And we got to be more disciplined in those situations that come up. And I thought our coaches did a really good job, during that nil and keeping people off and not instigating anything and really keeping everyone back. And it was just a bad deal. So, but basically the message was more, you got to learn how to respond better, and that, that kind of, behavior won't be tolerated.
Let's go over to Heath Hinton.
Coach Kinne, can you discuss maybe some actions you guys have taken after that incident, and when do you expect to hear something from the Sun Belt about any repercussions going forward?
Yeah, we're going to wait to see kind of what that looks like from the league office, and then we'll move forward if there's any more action that we need to do.
Heath, did you have a follow-up there? Your hand still up, or are you good?
Yeah. Coach, big game this week. Just talk about going on the road, playing, and that secondary. So just talk about how difficult that secondary is and that defense.
Oh yeah. First off, they're really well coached, and they got a bunch of guys that have played together for a while, coming over from Marshall, and then they've added some really good transfers. They're a really good defense. They can get after you just rushing 4. They like to pop backers. The secondary, like you said, flies around, got great ball skills in the back end. So just really well coached, good scheme, experienced, and them and JMU probably the 2 best defenses in the league so far that we have faced, and man, they just do a great job, and it'll be a real challenge, for us, like you said, especially at the receiver position with their guys.
Let's go back over to Caleb.
Coach, kind of lost in the turnovers and the defensive performance. Jaden Rios had probably his best game of the year.
Yep.
I think he had 3 pass breakups. Was this the kind of performance you expected to see from him when he transferred over?
For sure, man. Rios played, like you said, he did play his best game of the season, had a great week of practice as well. And so, we're still getting better, on that side of the ball. And Rios is a big reason why, anytime you can have, your corners play at a really high level, you can give yourself a chance. And that's I think the frustrating thing for me as a head coach. You talk about the corners that we have, the defensive line that we have, and some of the playmakers we have. We got to be better on that side of the ball. And the guys like Rios, I think when his when they decided to throw at him, he made plays this week almost every time. So that's what you want to see. They tested him deep. They tested him on the overs. He was able to get the pass breakups and cause an interception and almost got an interception himself. So, man, super proud of him and the way he played.
Coach Kinne, just personally, have you ever been a part of, 4 one-possession losses in conference in your coaching career? And how do you, keep your team motivated when you're, right on that precipice so many times throughout the season? Yeah, I haven't. And, I think the biggest thing for me is I'm, trying to learn, use it as a learning experience. And it's unfortunate, that we haven't been able to come away with one of those. You look at it, I think we're number 10, 10 or 11 in total offense in the country. We're, top 1 or 2 in every Sunbelt category on offense. And so we're doing some really good things. And, usually it's, you're losing these games because you can't score. That's not necessarily our problem right now. So, man, we just got to find ways to, be better as a whole, be better, playing complementary football. I think the defense really probably did play one of their better games of the season. And, but we gave them, 2 short fields with turnovers early. And, we're able to bounce back and kind of recapture some momentum in the 4th and almost got it done. But, just came up a little short. Thank you, Coach Kinne. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Yeah, good win for our football team. Excited for them. Anytime you get in a rivalry game and on the road and come home with a win, proud for them and really happy for Eagle Nation. This game has always been so special when you get to go play in Boone, North Carolina and play in App State and walk out of there with a victory. Obviously, a special thing's only been done twice since 2007. So one step closer to trying to get to postseason. So now we got to turn the page. Got Coastal Carolina, who's playing really some hot football right now, playing good football, especially offensively, putting points on the board. Going to be a great challenge, and looking forward to being back in Paulson Stadium here in Statesboro, Georgia. So with that, I'll take any questions you got.
We'll open it up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Alan Blondin.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, just you struggled on defense this year, and I guess against the run, I'm seeing I think 223 a game, and obviously with Coastal's new quarterback, that's pretty much what they do now. I think 324 last week or this past week. So I guess what can you do in a week's time to prepare for that, and maybe any changes on defense that you could possibly do to slow them down?
Yeah, hopefully, Alan, we take what we took from last week and carry it over. You play the league's leading rusher, and you hold him to 40 yards, and you hold a really good rushing team in App State to 77 total yards. And I thought we did that by having tremendous first and second down efficiency, especially on the opening drives. I think the first 4 opening drives were 3rd and 7 plus in that game because we stopped the run. I thought we brought a variety of pressures that trying to force the quarterback to win the game, and that allowed us to get to some 3rd and long. So my hope is that we carry that approach into the next game of being efficient on first and second down against the run, and put the pressure on the quarterback on 3rd downs.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Adam. Or Alan, sorry. Alan, you're on mute.
Still on mute there, Alan.
Yeah, Alan, you're muted.
Well, I got you. Sorry about that. Yeah, was there anything that you did last week that was different than you'd done previous weeks in order to stop the run like you did?
Yeah, I thought we pressured more on early downs. We went into that game saying we were going to be attacking on both sides of the ball. I thought we did that with tempo offensively, especially early on, and hit some big plays with tempo. And we came out ultra aggressive with our pressures and trying to put the pressure on the quarterback to make plays and trying to take their greatest strength away, which was we felt was their run game, having the leading rusher. They did get some on his 15 as a special player. He made a number of catches against us, but we chose to go that route and try to stop the run, and it paid off for us. So hopefully we can continue that this week. It allowed those, like I said, those third and longs, and and when you look up and teams only making 28% third down efficiency, you're doing something right on first and second.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach, obviously, App State on Saturday was able to do some things in the second half and get a little rhythm and be a little more effective and tighten things up. But with that said, the way that game ended, and now you're going to go play a Coastal Carolina team that is playing with a lot of confidence. They've won as many games in a row as they have, 4, I think it is, and they do a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. So how do you coach against confident football?
Yeah, they're playing hot football right now, like I said earlier, and they've really have done it with an identity shift offensively. I think, obviously they change quarterbacks halfway through the season. They go from, basically an air raid model to running the football where they're averaging 192 yards a game. And it's really you see the 10 and 11 personnel looks that they give you, but there's really 2 runners back there. Anytime you look up and the quarterback's the leading rusher in the last game for 123 yards, they're doing something special, and the running backs brings in an additional 90. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us. Stopping the run up until last game was not our strength defensively, and we found something last game that our kids really fed off of. And hopefully, we can do that again. This is a team that I credit Coach Beck. He's been a great offensive coordinator at every level and has done it really, really well. And so we're going to have to put our best foot forward to try to slow down and hopefully get off the field on third downs, because they can hold on to that ball and limit your opportunities offensively.
Coach Helton, can you talk a little bit about the game that Tripp had for you guys? Obviously, don't love having to settle for field goals, but 4 for 5, had a great performance for you guys and was a big key to the success against App State last week.
Yeah, I really credited all 3 of our specialists in our team meeting yesterday. Tripp's being a true freshman, and you're in your first rivalry game, App State game, and you go up there and you make 4 field goals, and got unfortunate with the 5th one. Just having the ball spotted just a little bit off, affecting. But gosh, came right back and kept on making them, and it's what he's done the whole year. Him, Alex Smith, our punter, who averaged 42.7 net, and that game really created great field position for us, as well as Evan, our kickoff specialist, who had 3 touchbacks and really hung the ball up there. For them to have a starting position of the 20-yard line in the first half, and I think the 26 in the second. Usually your specialists are doing some really good things, and you're not turning the ball over, which is our 3rd game in a row not to turn it over. So playing good special teams and good clean football, it puts you in games.
Thanks, Coach Helton. Appreciate your time today.
All righty, Sam. Take care. Hail Southern.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say. It's good to get a win. Hate the way the game ended, and now we're dealing with the aftermath from all that. So, trying to finish the season strong, trying to find a way to win the last 2 games to get us to postseason, and here we are dealing with a bunch of stuff that shouldn't happen after a football game.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Adam Miller.
Coach Des, you guys were still able to grab a win, and now you get to take it into a little bit of a bye week before, shortened week, but a little time to catch your breath a little bit, do some things internally and obviously on the field work as well. But what are some areas of emphasis you think are going to be really important for your locker room, especially with this extended break here in the month of November?
Well, we got to try to get as healthy as we can. That's the thing that's kind of been week in and week out. There have been guys in and out of the lineup. So we got to be able to maximize our ability to get some rest and recovery. Naturally, there's still a lot of things we got to do better. We found a way to win the game the other night, but Saturday night there's a lot of areas. Felt like up front we didn't play our best game up front. We gotta continue to work through some things and some movements, and trying to get those guys, I guess, settled into who's playing where, playing together. So we're gonna have to work a lot of individual and group periods, just kind of working combinations and things like that. I didn't think it was as clean as I'd have liked it to have been. We got to just continue to get some guys healthy and confident, going forward. I think that's probably the biggest thing for us right now is how many guys can we get as close to 100%, for the last 2 games that we've got. And that's going to be big for us this week.
Let's jump over to Caleb.
Coach, after everything had calmed down after the game and the incident, what was your message to your players, and is everyone okay afterwards?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, everybody's okay. The message for them was, I love the relentlessness that this team has. To be in the position we're in at 2-6 and sitting there just looking at a really tough, finish to the season. We talked about approaching it like a playoff mentality, and this was a huge game. Obviously, every one of them is at this point. We're able to get a big lead early. We held on to win. A lot of things that we've got to do better. On defense, we can't give up the explosives that we gave up. And expect to win football games. But our team has a lot of resilience, and they care about each other a whole lot, and they really want to find a way to take this thing as far as we can. So I was proud of the way that we played. I thought we played really hard in the game. I thought at the end, certainly we did some things that made it a lot closer than we would have liked it to have been. But the reality of it is right now it's just kind of win in advance, and we've just got to find a way at the end of the year with 2 left, to beat, a really good Arkansas State team that does a lot of things that concern you. And, we've got to keep our focus forward to that, and then after that, you got Monroe. It's always a dogfight when we play them. It's always a rivalry game. So for us, it's got to be one day at a time. We got to continue to focus on some things that we can do better. Certainly in the locker room was a little bit of a weird vibe after with everything that happened. You still had some guys that were angry, that were hurt, that were, upset. You weren't able to truly enjoy it the way you'd like to, but, found a way to get a win. We've got to keep moving forward. We've got to try to find a way to get another one.
Let's go over to Adam.
And Coach, you guys are, were able to hang on in that game. Obviously, some second half turnovers, certainly not what you want, and made things a little easier for Texas State to get themselves back in the game. But what you guys have been able to stack back-to-back wins now. It's just what is that doing for the confidence of your team? And as you go, again into this bye week, but you're gonna have to take it on the road to Arkansas State in a couple of weeks.
This league's about finding ways to win, and you see it kind of year after year. You see teams that, I don't know, they just find ways to win football games and sometimes unconventional ways. I thought the last 2 weeks, you get out to a big lead, you have a chance to kind of shut the door. We're not able to do that 2 weeks in a row, which is something we've got to do a better job of. You certainly have a chance to finish a game the way you want to, and we don't 2 weeks in a row. But it does give you a lot of confidence that, you're finding ways to win games. Our defense has made some big stops when we needed to. We got a couple of turnovers in the second quarter that led to touchdowns right after. Playing better complementary team football than we were earlier in the year when we were, finding ways to lose them, to be quite honest with you, in games that we should have won. Right now, I think there is confidence that we're going to find a way to get it done. There is confidence that we're going to be able to stack it together, put them together, and find a way to win. And that's what it takes. Confidence is a funny thing. It's when you have it, it's really hard to beat. It's really hard to beat a team that's confident. And when you don't have a lot of confidence, it's so hard to win, no matter how talented you are. It's just one of those things, the ebbs and flows of the game. I think our guys kind of embrace it a little bit now instead of being worried. Oh boy, here we go. it's one of those things where, like, look, we know there's going to be ups and downs. We just can't be up and down. We've got to stay even keel, and we got to understand moments to capture momentum, which we were able to do. The turnovers were unfortunate. There's different types of turnovers. Neither of the two were careless. I thought the ball was in a good spot on both of them. I thought we had a chance to make a play. One of them we dropped for a pick. The other one, I just didn't think we made a very good play on the ball, and it ends up bouncing off of us and they pick it off. But, the quarterback's making good decisions. The ball went where it was supposed to go on both of those plays. We've got to make those plays, because then you put your defense in a bad spot, especially the second one. They had the ball on the plus side of the field, and I think they were a one-play touchdown after that. So those are things that, offensively they're still happening, which is unfortunate. But I think it's not careless. It's not reckless. It's plays that we've got to make. I mean, it can't happen. You can't be scared to throw the ball on a dang naked route, in the fourth quarter because you're worried about it getting picked. I mean, the ball's where it's supposed to be. Got to make a play. So, for our team, I think it's obviously it's good to win close games. We just like to finish them a little bit better than what we're doing right now. And that's something we got to focus on is, we can't lose focus and we can't relax, especially on defense, because the last 2 weeks, that's kind of what happened. And these explosive plays are the things that are absolutely killing us. I mean, just absolutely killing us. I mean, the other night, it was just way too many. And I'm talking about big ones too. I mean, 30, 40-yard plays that just can't happen.
Let's take one final question here from Caleb.
Coach, I know you and Coach Kinne have some good respect for each other, but have y'all managed to clear the air after the game or talk at all?
I haven't spoken to him yet. I do have a lot of respect for Coach Kinne. I absolutely do. We were all frustrated after the game the other night. I think there were a lot of things that could have been handled differently that I'm not going to get into detail on. I've been asked not to comment on it. These are things that it happens. I mean, you get frustrated, you get mad, you get over it. Time goes by and you kind of get through it. I think he's got stuff he's got to worry about these next 3 weeks. We've got 2 games we got to worry about the next couple weeks. Do I think that any of it was, done intentionally? No. I mean, I don't think their staff, even after the game, the staff was great. We talked to multiple guys on their staff. It's just things got out of hand, and I think it could have been controlled differently. And I think it's unfortunate because I think now, we're in a tough stretch right here where we've got to deal with some issues that I'm sure are going to come up here that our team doesn't need, can't afford, and shouldn't have to deal with. But that's the nature of it. But no, I wish him nothing but the best going forward too. And I told him that after the game. I do have a lot of respect for him. I know how hard it is to win games, and I know the expectations that they had this year. I feel it. We felt like we had the same type of expectations, and for a number of reasons, our seasons just kind of hadn't taken off the way we wanted it to. But there's still a lot to play for, and making the postseason, that's something to be proud of, especially to me with what we've been through. For those guys, I know they've got the same thing, man. They're trying to scratch it out and trying to find a way to get to a bowl game and finish the year strong. So it's I hate that it happened. I have no hate towards anybody. I just hate that it happened because this makes it exponentially harder when you're dealing with the fallout from things like this.
Thank you, Coach Des. Appreciate your time today.
Yep. Good to see everybody once again. We are headed towards game 10. So I say the number each week to remind myself of how quick it all goes. But another huge test for us in a Sun Belt game on the road in an awesome environment that certainly talked to a couple guys and colleagues in the profession of how great of a place it is to go over there and play and how tough it is to play in it. It's a huge game for our Sun Belt Conference, and being featured on a nationally televised game on a Thursday night prime time with Sports Center presence and all those things, and the opportunity to go over and compete against one of my good friends in the profession and out of the profession, and Rahne. We work together, and just excited about that. So a lot of respect for him, the job they've done and the team they have. And I know our team is certainly ready to get back out on the field and try to respond properly after a tough week a couple weeks ago. So I'll take questions. Thanks.
We'll open it up now for questions. We'll start it off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Coach. Goose was available in the last game, did not play. What's kind of the quarterback situation going into this week? Is there competition, and has there been competition, sort of thing?
There has. He's available and he'll play. It'll be good to get him back out there and see where we go with it. No real plan as far as how that'll go. Both guys are going to play, and we're going to see where the game takes us. So we're excited to welcome him back. He's healthy and cleared and ready or not.
Old Dominion, one of the more balanced teams in the league, good on offense and defense. What do you see out of them?
Just that. I think offensively, they've got a special player at quarterback that's obviously been explosive with his legs and his arm, like many other guys we played in our league play and outside of our league play. But he's very talented. They've got a great offensive system. They spread you out and put you in space, play fast when they need to, but also do a really good job with their look game and getting them in and out of plays against the right looks, whether it be one high, two high, or defensive fronts and things. So they do a great job defensively. They're sound as it gets. They've got 11 pairs of eyes. Most of the time on the football, they trigger really well and playing it out of 3 down, 4 down looks. And of course, on 3rd down, they give you many problems and come at you in zero coverage when you are in scoreable situations to keep you out. Kicking game sound. It's what a good another great football team does in the Sun Belt is sound in all 3 phases. So it'll test us in every area.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Coach Parker, this is kind of a way to look at it, but you guys, this is going to be your one game in about a 20-day window between, the Arkansas State game and then the Georgia State game, the 22nd, this game on the 13th. What are some of the benefits and challenges that maybe you're experiencing or expecting during this 20-day window as a coaching staff?
Yeah, I would, what I'm going to say. We have a really good plan, and we plan to get better with every practice, every week. The plan's well before when you guys send us that schedule, it all gets put into motion. We certainly probably had more to manage last year in our scheduling, just on the Tuesday, Thursday, and that whole thing that was last year. So honestly, this fall is really good for us. I liked how it set up for us going into the year. Me and Adam talked about it as soon as it came out. We played 5 straight conference games of all that we had got our tails whipped by last year. We were able to avenge 4 of those, and now we sit here with yet another huge road game. We'll come back at home for another one on Senior Day, and then we have to go to the conference leader at the end of the year. So it's set up good. I thought it gave us a chance to be healthy on a semi-bye week, not a total one, to your point. But it was a semi-bye week that we had to start our Monday on Saturday of this past weekend. I thought our guys, honestly, I thought it was a really good schedule change for us. It kind of mixed it up a little bit, and our guys have embraced it well. How well, I'll tell you on Thursday night.
Coach Parker, coming off your first conference loss, were you able to kind of rally the guys through the bye week? Was this a good time to have a bye, or would you have preferred to kind of get right back out there? And then how do you kind of keep the team focused with everything still in front of you with 3 conference games and obviously controlling your own destiny for the championship game as well?
Yeah, I think for us, no excuses aside, it came right on time because we had played our 5th straight. We had some stuff come up. We had a tough week going into that Ark State game, and we didn't handle it well. Just a lot going on with some sickness and coaches sick. There's a lot of stuff that happened in-house. So it was right on time for us. I think everybody knows kind of what's going on and where this is right now. I think, there's very little being said about it in our building. We're going to keep that as much out as we can, but everybody understands how important they all are. If you're playing meaningful games in November, that's certainly where Troy expects us to be and where we expect to be. They won't be meaningful if we slip up and don't play well now. So we understand it's day by day to prepare the right way to be ready for a Thursday night game right now.
Thank you, Coach Parker. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you all.
Yeah, tough loss Saturday. I thought our kids played extremely hard. Gave ourselves an opportunity late in the 4th quarter. We're down 5 with 4 minutes to go, and we get the ball at midfield. So, love the way our kids kept fighting, didn't give up, and credit to JMU. They got a great football team, and, congrats to them on another victory. And, we have to bounce back and go play a Georgia State team this Saturday.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach Gibson, you just kind of alluded to James Madison and the team that they are, but what were some of the things that, even though you guys, were forced to play from behind for almost the entirety of the game, that the way that you guys were able to keep things tight and make them have to fight for everything, what are some of the things you felt contributed to that effort?
Yeah, I thought we did a really good job. We had over 250 rushing yards in the game. Thought that obviously that was huge for us. And for the most part, defensively, we held up pretty good early, and then we gave up some explosive plays, and then kind of found our footing in late in the third quarter into the fourth, and got us back in it. But the kids just fought really, really hard. I thought offensively, again, we did a really good job of keeping them off the field, their offense off the field, and being able to run the ball. So, was pleased with that. And then we had some guys that played really well. Antoine Roberts had another really good game. Paul Hudson on defense had a good game. So, we had some individuals that played well. At times we played really well together, and then at times we did. So.
Yeah, Coach, and just a follow up to that, just with you, how would you grade your team's performance on third down? Obviously, they were 5 of 12, didn't have any fourth down opportunities that they went for, but how would you describe your team's third down effort in the game against James Madison?
Yeah, not good, not great. And we did it to ourselves a lot too. We had some penalties, we had some drop balls. But anytime you get in a third and long situation against them, they're good enough that they don't have to pressure you with blitzing. They can drop guys in coverage, and they can win one-on-one matchups with their front. So that made it extremely tough on us at times. But they're a good football team. We expected everything that we got, and their kids play hard. They're sound fundamentally. Their schemes are really good. So. But again, if you could have told me on Friday before the game, it's going to be a 5-point game and you have the ball midfield, 4 minutes left, I'd say let's just go right to that point right now and let's play it. So, I thought our kids hung in, kept fighting, and there were plenty of opportunities for us to give in and give up, and we didn't. And I'm proud of my team for that.
And then my last question for you, Coach, is just turning the page now to Georgia State. You alluded to that again in your opening statement, but just some of the skill players they have. There's a Ted Hurst, and maybe some uncertainty at their quarterback position after last week's game. But how do you get your team prepared to play against some guys who maybe individually are very skilled and maybe some of the better players in the league at their positions?
Yeah, I mean, Ted Hurst is the best wide receiver in this league. No disrespect to anybody else. But he's special. He's a really, really good player. He's long, athletic, can go get it. So you don't, once you turn the film on, you understand what you're getting with this Georgia State offense. I mean, they're really good at running back, wide out wise. Five's a good player. Obviously, one I just talked about. They got a bunch of running backs that they throw at you. So, and I think their quarterbacks do some good stuff. So both of them they're different. Obviously, Finley's a big kid. Brown is he's a dual threat, can run it, do some things. So, I'm impressed by what I see with them, and we're gonna have our work cut out for us on defense for sure.
Coach Gibson, Marshall's obviously a program with a storied history and obviously a current bowl season qualifying win streak. Is that something you guys talked about with the team at all? Not getting the results you wanted the past 2 weeks, but still some goals out there for the team as you look towards these last 3 games of the regular season.
Yeah, and we're sitting here at 4-5, but we have to win 2 out of the next 3 to qualify for a bowl. Our goal is to win all 3, but obviously we got good teams, and what we need to worry about is Georgia State and nobody else at this point. But these seniors and the guys that stuck around, the very few that did. We need to send them out the right way and make sure that we qualify for a bowl game and get ourselves in position to extend our season. And, we've got 19 days left with these seniors. And, we need to be able to win some games to be able to get another 15 or 19 or 20 days, whatever it may be, through the bowl season and set ourselves up. And I think it's crucial to our program for us to be able to do that.
Thank you, Coach Gibson. Appreciate your time today.
Yep, thank you.
Yes, a hard fought game. Was really proud of our players. Created a lot of adversities for us in the game in terms of turning the football over 6 times. Now, 2 of those came on possessions ending the first half and the second half. So really 4 turnovers. When you play a quality opponent like Southern Miss, you usually don't give yourself an opportunity to win the football game. However, we battled. It's kind of been the storyline for us all season long. We battled, and we had an opportunity to win the football game on the final play of the game and came up a little bit short. But on top of those turnovers, we had 5 empty possessions where we had the ball in the high red and came away with 0 points. And, that's a tribute to them. They took the football away. And there was a responsibility. It's not just the quarterback. I think when we look at turnovers and interceptions, all eyes kind of gravitate towards the quarterback, but there was some tip footballs, where we didn't do a good job of our hand placements up front. Defensively, I thought we played well enough to give us an opportunity to win. I thought we managed the clock at the end of the game to really give us an opportunity to win, to drive the ball the length of the field, operate the 1-minute drill, and then leave it for a 1 possession or a 1 play, so to speak, and came up short. So, we have to get our health back as a football team. We need a few days to rest and recover, and then all on deck in terms of a really Louisiana football team that has a lot of momentum. Both teams are playing for a lot with bowl eligibility. And so we have a lot to play for, and excited to start this week and have a couple extra days for preparation and to get healthy in the training room as well.
We'll open up now for questions. We'll start off with Charles.
What's going on, Coach?
Hey, Charles.
How you doing, man? You all right?
I'm doing great.
Good. So you just talked about it health-wise. Just talk about what these extra days this week mean for the team health-wise, and then how's Jalen's shoulder doing?
Yeah, it's been a grind. We going into the Southern Miss game, we had 4 consecutive games, and we all know kind of the storylines of those games. Most of them were 1 possession games, and then you look at the Southern Miss game, 2 good football teams going at it, and came up a little bit short. And it was an extremely physical, hard-fought contest. So again, we need to take a couple days and just, not so much, it's one thing with the physical fatigue, but there's also a mental fatigue as well. So we have to take advantage of these extra days. And in terms of Jalen, we fully anticipate him being ready to go.
Jump over to Adam.
Coach Jones, even in spite of the turnover miscues and issues against Southern Miss, just the fact you guys still had that opportunity to be in the game at the end of the game, the way you guys have been all year, and the competitive nature of your team. What do you think are some things that you maybe learned, even though in a defeat, that you learned about your team and still the competitive spirit that the team has?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because, you can never take winning for granted. And we were on a 4-game winning streak and had some come from behind victories, obviously, and it hurts. It stings, when you put so much effort into your preparation. And we all understood, the magnitude of the game, so to speak, but there's still a lot to play for. I'm really proud of our players. I think what they've overcome all year, we've been hit by the injury bug. So we've had to overcome some things, but, I think it's still teaching them what winning football looks like. We'll continue to teach that all the way to the end of the App State game. And, before you can win the game, you got to first not lose the game. And it's more than just turnovers. Offensively, we're not operating, at maximum capacity. When I mean 11 for 11, and football is a game where you need to execute with 11 for 11. And we've been able to do that. And when you look, a lot of the plays on Saturday were 9 for 11, we're 10 for 11. And we still have too many blinking red lights that we need to get corrected, and they know it. And how do you correct it? Through practice, through your preparation, through competition, all that. But in terms of a mental disposition and a mindset by our players, as a coach, you couldn't ask for more. They come in every day. They're very driven. They're very hungry. I think our leadership has really gone to a whole nother level, and they're disappointed. But I know we have 2 more opportunities and a lot to play for. And, you look at the things that this football team has done with a 1-4 start and getting to a point where we're at, that hasn't been done very often, in college football. So again, you have to step back and you have to look at, the progress. And I still say it, and I think every coach will agree with me, is that you're a byproduct of your non-conference scheduling. And I think the lazy people look at the overall records. And when you're in the group of 6, really the success is really based on your non-conference opponents. And we've had an extremely challenging non-conference schedule. When you look at playing 2 Power 4 opponents back to back, an SEC program, and then come back and play a program that's won consistently. It was 13th ranked in the country. And then you play a non-conference opponent who's probably going to win their division. So that's, we love the competition, but I think it's really putting things in perspective. And as a coach, you have to do that, because I think sometimes your players hear that noise too. And then when you step back and you kind of peel the onion back, you're like, well, wow, we have done some good things and we are winning. And again, we're not in the Power 4 where you go by your non-conference schedule and you're 3-0, you're 4-0, and you have momentum and your kids believe. We earn in this conference, we earn every victory that we get. And I think there's a mental disposition, there's a mindset that goes along with that. And, been fortunate, I've been coached in the MAC, I've coached in the Big East, I've coached in the SEC, I've seen it all. And so when you really look at that, you have to step back and look at that. So again, we have to get better in a hurry, playing a Louisiana team, but also really proud of our fight and our competitive spirit of our guys.
Let's take one final question here from Charles.
Hey, Coach. Corey Rucker sets the record for most receiving yards and most receptions in the Sun Belt Saturday. Just talk about what Ruck has meant to this program since he touched down here in Jonesboro.
Yeah, well, I think, when you look at the 2 different stints that he's had, and I think it's a great illustration that, he left, he went to an SEC program and got there and knew that this was the best fit for him socially, personally, and as a football player in the family type atmosphere. And I give him a lot of credit with wisdom. And he comes back here, and, we don't normally bring players back into our football program or our football family, but I thought he earned the right by his body of work of what he did prior to leaving for South Carolina. And then when he's come back, he's been one of our leaders. He's been a great voice in our locker room, and he's been extremely productive. And I think what you're going to get from Corey Rucker on game day. And as a coach, that consistency and performance that you look for time in and time again, he's been able to do that for us.
Thank you, Coach Jones. Appreciate your time today.
All right, everyone, have a great week. Thank you.
Yeah. Obviously these Thursday games coming off the bye week are kind of like a mini bye. You kind of get something on both ends of it here after the game and before. But I know our guys are ready to go. We play a very good Troy team, and it's going to be a great opportunity to play in front of a national television audience and be able to get our university and our football program a national stage. So that'll be great. So questions.
We'll open up now for questions. We'll start off with David Teal.
Ricky, you mentioned the quality of Troy. How much of the Clemson tape do you show your players to kind of drive that point home?
I mean, they've watched it, obviously. I don't necessarily think you have to show them Clemson. They know the quality of opponents they're playing in the Sun Belt, and they see it, time and time again, and getting, some good wins and that sort of thing. So we know that this is a really good team. They're a well-coached team, and they play pretty physical. That's kind of their hallmark, particularly, up front on the defensive line, but also, on the offensive line, but, playing with as many tight ends they do, and they do all that sort of stuff. So our guys know they have to be ready.
Colton is 10th nationally in passer rating. He's behind only C.J. Carr and Julian Sayin in yards per attempt. How has he continued to progress throughout this season?
Yeah, he's done some really good things. I mean, I think one of the areas that we've been able to go, and I was kind of telling everybody before the season, is I thought we'd have, some good wide receivers who could make some plays, and they've been able to make plays after they catch it. They've been able to make plays there. Colton's been able to distribute the ball to whoever's open, which has been great because we've been able to have multiple different guys lead us in receiving, lead us in yards, multiple different guys catch touchdowns in games and that sort of thing. So I think that's where he continues to progress, and where our team is benefiting from is just getting the ball to a bunch of different people.
And then how much does his running ability play into it and help him in the passing game, just because teams have to respect that?
Yeah, I've said it before. I mean, I think it makes you play defense and not defenses. I mean, you can't just go out there and have some junk coverages or crazy blitzes, because you better make sure that he's caged, or else that's going to be a problem for you. So, that allows us to not maybe get some of the exotic things that other people have tried to do on across college football. You have a guy who can run, and if you're not exactly you don't have everything buttoned up, he can go the distance in a hurry. And so I think that's the thing that's been able to benefit us.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Adam.
And Coach Rahne, I asked Coach Parker at Troy a similar question. This is the way you look at it, could be your only game in about a 20-day window when you play this game Thursday. What are maybe some benefits and challenges as a coaching staff during that period?
I mean, with the current rules in college football, with December being dead and those sort of things, you got to recruit. So it's not like we're sitting here and we're just like taking off and everybody's just going golfing or anything like that. It's not the way it works anymore. I think I gave our staff off one day. We won't really get a day on the back end of it because we'll be recruiting, and then you get back to normal, and then it goes back to a normal week, and so. It's great. And again, I thank, Commissioner Gill for listening to us coaches and having a bye week before these Thursday games. I think it's great for the player safety. I think it's great for the overall quality of the product that's going to be put out there and that sort of thing. But it does create some challenges on some other ends of it. But I know our guys are thankful for it. Had one of our most physical practices we've had in a very long time yesterday. So that was great.
Coach Rahne, as you look ahead to Troy, they've played two different quarterbacks this year. What are some of the differences you see in the two guys? And, obviously with Goose now being back and potentially available, how would you, slow them down depending on who's in the game?
Well, they really played three. But the other guy only really played in one game or whatever. But I think they're pretty similar. I mean, obviously, they each have their strengths and their weaknesses, but they're both willing to run the football. They're both willing to tuck it down. They're both very tough. You can see that in the way they play, and willing to take a hit and still deliver the football. They both can throw with accuracy. They both read, the coverages pretty well. So I would say that they're pretty similar to each other. Obviously, we're going to play whoever's in there, and we've had that. It seems like we've had that for a couple of weeks now, not really knowing who the quarterback was going to be. But I think that obviously I'm just glad that a guy who it seems like Goose loves to play the game of football, and I'm glad he's back and ready to do that, because that's something that I hope for everybody.
Let's take one more from David Teal.
Ricky, a seventh win and assuring yourself of a winning season, what would that mean?
That'd mean we went 1-0 this week. I mean, I don't really. I know, David. I know you were expecting that answer, but I mean, it does. I mean, I mean, I don't really like to look back on things when it's going on, right? I mean, I'm one of those people. I don't really look back on my life or my career or anything like that, and try to think of moments of what made it special or whatever. I don't plan on doing this forever. So when I finally retire, I'll look back on some things and I'm sure, if the good Lord will give me clarity on my final day here, I'll look back on everything else. But when I'm in it, I'd rather look on what I'm doing that day, and that's what the thing I'm focused on. That's the thing I think the team is focused on is, this is a great Troy team. This is a national TV game, and we're looking forward to an opportunity to go out there and win a game. And I think that's the thing that's most special for all of us.
Thank you, Coach Rahne. Appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, obviously really good team win, gritty win against a really good Sun Belt opponent. Really proud of the way the players continued to fight. Really proud of the way we stuck to our process. Our culture showed up, made some big plays, hit some adversity, struggled in some areas defensively. Getting 6 turnovers is probably the most I've ever been around. Did a really good job of taking the ball away. Did a really good job of taking the strain off the offense. Offensively, being able to find ways to grind out some points, enough points, and then obviously being able to finish it with a great team win. Got a lot to clean up. Can't play like that for the rest of the season and expect to get those type of results, but definitely good to learn from. And then we got another tough challenge coming up this week, and probably, excuse me, probably the best offense in the conference. I think Texas State does a really good job offensively, going to stress us tremendously defensively, and then they fly around to the ball on defense. So this is going to be a challenge this week. Definitely got to do a really good week in preparation to go play a really good team here in the Rock this weekend.
We'll open up now for questions. Let's start off with Justin.
Hey, Coach, thanks for the time today. Wanted to talk Elijah Metcalf. Had a big game on Saturday. I know you had him at Marshall as well. Just how has he grown as a player from when you first brought him in at Marshall to now here with Southern Miss?
I think he's been the same guy. He's been consistent in his routine. He's been consistent in his process. The ball just happened to find him on Saturday, and that's part of, I think our offense has been good because of that. We haven't had to force the ball to one guy. We haven't had to try to get the ball to a certain player. I think, Blake does a really good job of installing the game plan to where whoever's in has a chance to be successful. And Metcalf would just happen to be the guy on Saturday. He took advantage of the opportunities. We say in our building all the time, when you get the hot hand, you got to go. And he was able to do that. But his routine has been consistent. He's one of our leaders. He's got the same mentality, shows up ready to work every single day. Obviously, for a smaller guy, he plays bigger than what he is, a lot faster and quicker than you may think. Does a really good job of tracking the ball, catching the ball. And then obviously you got a chance to see his, speed, long speed on Saturday. But I think it goes back to his preparation and his demeanor on a daily basis.
Let's go over to Caleb.
Coach, with the Austin American Statesman, I cover Texas State. Texas State's defense hasn't been great this season. It's probably one of the worst in the Sun Belt. I just would like your perspective on how a poor defense might strain an offense or cause an offense to overextend itself, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I don't look at the stats, I don't know what they are statistically. When you turn the film on, they're flying around. They're striking guys. They got big guys up front that have twitch. Their back end guys are not afraid to tackle. I do think when you look at offenses that are kind of air raid tempo, typically their defenses don't have good stats because just like our offense, it's either an 80-yard touchdown or a 3 and out, because we play with tempo and we try to, get as many plays as we can. I think when you play in those systems, your defensive numbers are always going to be lower than, playing a huddle team or a huddle offense. So I look at the film. When you look at the film, they got guys that run around. They got long guys up front. They got guys that can snatch and tear off. On the back end, they've got guys that can play the ball in the air. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're out there 80, 90 plays, even the New York Jets are going to have an issue, stopping people. But I think that's part of, their philosophy offensively is score as many points as we can. defensively make the stops when they need to make the stops. They've been able to do that. They've been able to turn the ball over. You go back to the games that they've been one-score games. They got 4 one-score games. I think, again, that's defensively coming up with stops when you need them. Then there's another 2 games where it's 2 scores, so they're not getting blown out. So from a statistical standpoint, the way I look at it, defensively, they're not just out there laying down. I think, again, it's a combination of the type of offense, how explosive their offense is, how fast their offense plays, that creates, obviously, a rep count that goes up for the defense, so your stats go down. But when you watch them play, they get off the ball, they can get guys on the ground, they can stop the run. So I think when you look at it from a statistical standpoint, yes, you're right. But when you watch the film, they can cause us some issues.
Let's go to Scott.
Coach, I just had a situational question for you from the game on Saturday. There at the end, you had 2 timeouts, and you choose to punt the ball after taking a delay of game to eat that extra second. So, I mean, talk to me about sacrificing those 5 yards for 1 second.
Yeah, well, the plan was to try to sacrifice the 5 yards and then punt it down inside the 10 of the 5 and bleed it. Our punter probably hit the best punt of his life. I think he hit it back to their building, which didn't obviously help us. Our thought process was, okay, time is getting low. We kind of knew their 2-minute offense. We kind of had plans particularly for that offense. So I felt like if we could get them inside the 10, maybe the 5, bleed another 6 seconds off of it, that if they had to go 95 yards, we felt like our defense would be in a much better spot. Now, we do that and we kick it through the end zone. We don't execute. Then, yeah, Coach Huff looks like an idiot. But I didn't want to give them the ball at the 38 and have them have to go 60 yards with the type of 2-minute offense they run. That's where they've been really effective. If you look back, Kennesaw State, they were able to go down the field and score. Texas State, they were able to go down the field in a 2-minute offense and score. They've been able to do that in a lot of games. So we were trying to create as much field position as possible for our defense and not put them on a short field. If you kind of reflect back, we ended up getting a dumb, unsportsmanlike penalty that cost us 15 yards. So if we give them the ball on the 38, that penalty puts them, basically on the 40, opposite 40. So now you're talking about less than half a field. So that was the thought process. We didn't execute the punt very well. So obviously that made it, obviously not the best call in that moment, but my thought process was 90 yards over 70 yards, for our defense.
Let's take one final question here from Heath.
And Coach Huff, last season you were chasing the division title. This year, you're chasing division title. Personally, what has been not throw shade any institution or anything like that, but what's been the biggest difference this year, personally for you as a coach, in the situation you're in now?
I think we're in 2 different, scenarios. One year your back's against the wall and it's you got to win to basically save your job or create a job. This scenario is you got an opportunity to build on to something. You got an opportunity to build something from the ground up. Players wise, I think we've got a group of players here that are experiencing something they've never experienced at a really high level. I know we have a lot of guys who have won a championship, but there's a lot of guys here who have not. And just seeing the growth and development of those players as people. Champions are not just champions in a sport. Champions are champions in life. And I don't know if we'll win it or not, but the skill sets and the traits and the characteristics that I'm watching these guys develop over time is probably the biggest difference. We had built something at the other place. It kind of took 3 or 4 years to get to. There were a lot of guys there that were there from day one when we started talking about this thing called process. Here, there was a lot of guys who just believed. They really didn't have a tangible, hey, I know what Coach Huff is telling me works, because obviously they weren't around me, most of these guys. So they just believed in the process, and to watch them develop the characteristics and the traits of being a champion. Obviously, we still have a lot of football to play, but I think champions are champions long before you get to hoist a trophy. And we may not get to do that this year, but what we've created and who we've developed into, I think, is going to make us successful down the road.
Thank you, Coach Huff. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, just coming off the bye week, excited to get going for our game here in Monroe this weekend. Quality opponent, fighting for bowl berth. Obviously do a great job coaching on both sides of the ball. Really enjoy watching them, on both sides of the ball, the way they play the game, fundamentally sound. But had a good off week and getting ready for our opponent this Saturday.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach Applewhite, you guys, you've had this time, but obviously you're going to go on the road to play a ULM team that, has done some different things at quarterback. They've thrown a couple different guys in there. So how do you prepare for that? And I'll have a second question after that.
Yeah, you got to prepare for both. You got to prepare for both. You got to be prepared for what those guys bring to the game, the elements that they bring to the game. And they do a great job on offense. They're going to be able to feature those guys and do what they do best. But that's not the first time that we've run into this. Just a couple weeks ago at Georgia State, same situation. Are we playing this guy or other? So you have to have plans for both.
And then my follow-up to specifically on their quarterback situation, but their offense as a whole, something that's really kind of been difficult for them is their struggle with turnovers. How important is it going to be for you guys to be able to generate at least a few of those to get a win on Saturday?
Essence of the game, it's keep away with goalposts at each end, and somebody runs across the line, you kick it off, you start over again. If you can take the ball off people, that's the name of the game. Defensively, I thought there were times where we played well in the second half last week, but we didn't ever take the ball off of anybody. We never got any takeaways. So those are things those are the difference in a Georgia State game where you get 2 takeaways in your last 2 series. Even though they score points, you still get 2 takeaways and it changes the complexion of the ball game. Against Lafayette 2 weeks ago, we didn't get takeaways. So yes, absolutely.
And then my last question, certainly one of the things that they do pretty well offensively specifically is they run the ball. They like to run the ball, but what are some of the things that your defense is going to have to do to keep that at bay and maybe force them to have to get vertical with the ball?
Well, gap control, they do a great job with all schemes, but they feature outside zone, but you got to do a great job of setting edges. You got to do a great job of taking off double teams. You got to do a great job of staying in your gaps. Safeties have to make tackles on the backside when it goes all the way back there. There's just a number of fundamentals and things that we have to do up front to make sure that we're gap sound and we're tearing off the blocks the right way. Obviously, you got to get an extra hat down in the box. At times, you got to make sure it's in the right place because they can do some things with your rotation in terms of where they want to run the football. And then ultimately it results in tackling, right? That's where it all goes down to. You can set an edge, you can have great technique up front, but you got to get one-on-one and get a man down.
Coach Applewhite, you're getting to the point in the year where, historically people would talk about getting younger guys in the game, seeing what they can do. Is that something that has changed with the transfer portal era and, obviously things being a little different in recruiting these days? Is that something you as a coach still would like to do is see some guys get some game reps, or is it something where more so you do that in practice or maybe in this bye that you guys are coming off of?
I think that's a great question, all of the above. Got some of that work in the bye week with some of the younger guys. There are some guys that you'd like to see them get out there and kind of knock the shine off and understand how they need to get in the weight room and how they need to train next year after getting out there on the field with guys that are really going. So there's all the above, whether it be practice, game time, but it's obviously an individual basis. You're not going to mass sub young players, but there are some players that you want to get some repetition. So you just got to find your spots to get those guys in the ballgame.
And then ULM, Adam talked about their running game. One of their running backs, Braylon McReynolds, is a guy who transferred over from South Alabama. What makes him a unique player, and what do you think would need to be part of your game plan to slow him down this weekend?
Well, it's start and stop first and foremost, just from a trait standpoint. He can start and stop on a dime. He's got great change of direction. But I think intangibles, I think people telling you your whole life that you're too small, this, that, and the other, I think it builds a chip on your shoulder and you play with the tenacity that shows up on film. And that's always been the way he's run the ball. And he's a very tough guy to get down.
Thank you, Coach Applewhite. Appreciate your time today.
Welcome. Thank you.
That'll conclude this week's Sunbelt Football Coaches Media Availability. A complete recording of this call will be on sunbeltsports.org later today.
Yeah, just coming off the bye week, excited to get going for our game here in Monroe this weekend. Quality opponent, fighting for bowl berth.
Obviously do a great job coaching on both sides of the ball. Really enjoy watching them, on both sides of the ball, the way they play the game, fundamentally sound. But had a good off week and getting ready for our opponent this Saturday.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach Applewhite, you guys, you've had this time, but obviously you're going to go on the road to play a ULM team that, has done some different things at quarterback. They've thrown a couple different guys in there. So how do you prepare for that? And I'll have a second question after that.
Yeah, you got to prepare for both. You got to prepare for both. You got to be prepared for what those guys bring to the game, the elements that they bring to the game. And they do a great job on offense. They're going to be able to feature those guys and do what they do best. But that's not the first time that we've run into this. Just a couple weeks ago at Georgia State, same situation. Are we playing this guy or others? So you have to have plans for both.
And then my follow-up to specifically on their quarterback situation, but their offense as a whole, something that's really kind of been difficult for them is their struggle with turnovers. How important is it going to be for you guys to be able to generate at least a few of those to get a win on Saturday?
Essence of the game, it's keep away with goalposts at each end, and somebody runs across the line, you kick it off, you start over again. If you can take the ball off people, that's the name of the game. Defensively, I thought there were times where we played well in the second half last week, but we didn't ever take the ball off of anybody. We never got any takeaways. So those are things those are the difference in a Georgia State game where you get 2 takeaways in your last 2 series. Even though they score points, you still get 2 takeaways and it changes the complexion of the ball game. Against Lafayette 2 weeks ago, we didn't get takeaways. So yes, absolutely.
And then my last question, certainly one of the things that they do pretty well offensively specifically is they run the ball. They like to run the ball, but what are some of the things that your defense is going to have to do to keep that at bay and maybe force them to have to get vertical with the ball?
Well, gap control, they do a great job with all schemes, but they feature outside zone, but you got to do a great job of setting edges. You got to do a great job of taking off double teams. You got to do a great job of staying in your gaps. Safeties have to make tackles on the backside when it goes all the way back there. There's just a number of fundamentals and things that we have to do up front to make sure that we're gap sound and we're tearing off the blocks the right way. Obviously, you got to get an extra hat down in the box. At times, you got to make sure it's in the right place because they can do some things with your rotation in terms of where they want to run the football. And then ultimately it results in tackling, right? That's where it all goes down to. You can set an edge, you can have great technique up front, but you got to get one-on-one and get a man down.
Coach Applewhite, you're getting to the point in the year where, historically people would talk about getting younger guys in the game, seeing what they can do. Is that something that has changed with the transfer portal era and, obviously things being a little different in recruiting these days? Is that something you as a coach still would like to do is see some guys get some game reps, or is it something where more so you do that in practice or maybe in this bye that you guys are coming off of?
I think that's a great question, all of the above. Got some of that work in the bye week with some of the younger guys. There are some guys that you would like to see them get out there and kind of knock the shine off and understand how they need to get in the weight room and how they need to train next year after getting out there on the field with the guys that are really going. So there's all the above, whether it be practice, game time, but it's obviously an individual basis. You're not going to mass sub young players, but there are some players that you want to get some repetition. So you just got to find your spots to get those guys in the ballgame.
And then ULM, Adam talked about their running game. One of their running backs, Braylon McReynolds, is a guy who transferred over from South Alabama. What makes him a unique player, and what do you think would need to be part of your game plan to slow him down this weekend?
Well, his start and stop, first and foremost, just from a trait standpoint. He can start and stop on a dime. He's got great change of direction. But I think intangibles, I think people telling you your whole life that you're too small, this, that, and the other, I think it builds a chip on your shoulder and you play with the tenacity that shows up on film. And that's always been the way he's run the ball. And he's a very tough guy to get down.
Thank you, Coach Applewhite. Appreciate your time today.
Welcome. Thank you.